Alexander Spinelli here of Longbow Media, and today we are here at the Smith & Wesson booth with competitive shooter Julie Golob. Thank you so much for joining me today.
No, thank you for having me.
So what is your preference in competitive shooting? What type of shooting do you do?
I am more of the speed shooting kind of girl, so I shoot a lot of practical shooting, defensive shooting, action pistol. That's where drawing from the holster and moving around a lot, that's what I like.
You know, I've seen videos of the speed shooting. I gotta say, it is visually addicting to watch, just watching the motions and everything.
It's crazy because one thing I love about those types of shooting sports is the advanced gun handling. So your confidence with being able to move safely with a firearm, being able to draw from a holster, and then do that in a course of fire with a lot of different steel and rounds and swinging targets makes it a ton of fun. So it's very dynamic, but it's definitely gets the heart rate up.
So how many months or years of practice does it take to confidently, without looking, pull the gun, do all the firing, reload, and put it back all at the same time?
It's funny. It's a very accessible sport. So I think that, first you got to learn how to, basic firearm safety rules, but drawing through dry fire, learning to move with a firearm, I would say that, even with a couple of practice sessions, you can learn enough so that you can head to a local match, and the shooters are great. They're going to help you out, and it'll be a ton of fun.
How long would you say it took you to be comfortable with it?
So I grew up around shooting sports, so I learned the rules and how everything worked procedurally when I first started. So that was very easy. And when I started competing, all I cared about was hitting the middle of the target every time. That was my thing. And my goal was to get the highest score in the match. But eventually, I really found that I was competitive. And so within a couple of years, I decided this is something that I could really excel at, and I wanted to see how far I could take it.
Now, would you say, or would you recommend competitive shooting sports to someone for the purpose of kind of giving purpose to owning a firearm? Is it just it gives you a reason to do something with it?
I think the shooting sports are great confidence boosters. So with those gun handling skills, a lot of people that don't handle their firearm, they leave it in a safe, whatever. They don't think about it, or they don't use it at an advanced level. Whereas if you're going to a shooting sport, you're competing in a match every single month, it becomes a familiar thing. And you may not have any questions or have to guess about how to take it apart or manipulate it, heaven forbid there's a malfunction or something like that. And because of that, you inherently are more confident, and whatever the situation is, whether you want to go win a nationals or be able to protect yourself in your home, it's all relevant.
Now, what role do the specific guns or the specific brands play? Are there certain brands that are better for competitive shooting rather than hunting or law enforcement?
It used to be that way. There were a few companies that were really competition specific, but the shooting sports have grown so much that they've realized the value of out-of-the-box stock guns that you can go buy from your dealer and be able to compete with. So almost every popular shooting sport has a production division. So that means you can go buy a Smith & Wesson M&P right out of the box, grab a couple mags, a few boxes of ammo, and you're ready to play.
So what are some of the guns that you prefer to use for competitive shooting?
Sure, I compete mostly with Smith & Wesson M&Ps. We have an option that allows you to mount an optic, so I have that stock production option, or I can compete in the carry optics division. I also shoot a lot of 1911s, and even a revolver or two every now and again. But that's the great thing about the shooting sports. There are so many different divisions. There are so many different ways to play, whether you want to just shoot it all steel, whether you want to shoot it paper. It's a ton of fun.
Now, do you find, since you do this, I guess, for a living and you're competitive in it, you have to pull back every now and then from just shooting casually just to take a breather?
I don't do that because the range is my office. So I every time I'm on the range, I'm just driven to like fix something or be better. So even if if I'm shooting with my girls' balloons or something, there's that competitive nature inside of me because that's just how I'm built. But it doesn't mean it's still not fun. Yeah.
All right. And before we go, final thought is, what is your personal relationship with the Second Amendment? What does it mean to you?
Well, I'm living proof of what can happen with a girl with big dreams and being able to chase them in a sport based around firearms, and to have that as my occupation and to raise daughters and to understand what it all means. I'm here because of the Second Amendment, and I'm fighting for it because I believe in it. So, have
you involved them in competitive shooting as well?
I have. My oldest shoots with me in 22 rimfire events, and my littlest one is not quite ready yet, but someday I hope we have all-girl weekends and have a ton of fun.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You've been watching Longbow Media here at the Smith & Wesson booth at the NRA annual meeting in Indianapolis, Indiana, and we've been speaking with Julie Golob, professional shooter.